UK Prime Minister Johnson says he will be stopping Russian companies clearing in sterling and US dollars. So if you're a Russian business and you're doing, you're talking about stopping Russian companies from clearing. So if you're doing business with a bank that clears in the UK and does settlement, you're now they're basically freezing everything, and this is dangerous actually for the global financial system. This can bring everything, and this is a great way, a smoke and mirrors way of redirecting. Oh, don't look at what the Canadian truckers are doing. They'll be able. Don't look at what we've done with inflating the currency supply, with buying votes by doing huge deficit spending. Don't look at the decades of abuse that all governments have done to their monetary systems. Look over here. We can now blame it on Vladimir Putin. We can blame it on COVID, and we can blame it on those nasty truckers up in Canada. And so anybody that wants freedom, it's their fault that the economy is crashing, not our fault for abusing the monetary systems. When there's these crises that come up, they'll introduce some sort of temporary law that comes in. Well, there's nothing so permanent as a temporary law, right, or a government program. Once they're introduced, once the powers that be gain more power, they're very, very reluctant to give it up. In fact, there's nothing so permanent as a temporary law. Canada moves to make asset freezing under the Emergencies Act permanent. So this asset freezing, they're going to be able to use the Emergencies Act anytime they want to designate anybody that disagrees with what the official stance from the Canadian government, whichever party is in power at the time, because this shifts with the winds like every 4 years. You've got, in the US, every 4 to 8 years, we have different policies and a different agenda. And they can take anybody that they don't like, basically, designate them terrorists, and use this Emergencies Act to then freeze their assets. Moving on. And I always keep a few months of expenses. I want to be able to get by if the banks are, if they're, you go back into the 30s when they declared the bank holidays during the Great Depression, the banks were all closed. You couldn't get, if your assets get frozen, or if there's a bank holiday, you need to be able to operate. I'm going to go and get more cash. But in Canada, what they have done has just caused a huge distrust of the banking system. And I believe that this distrust is going to be global. And now we're seeing other countries join this, where the government suddenly uses the currency system as a weapon. And so I'm going to get more cash, but you want to keep it at some place that's not part of the bank. You don't want to put it in a safe deposit box, but you want to keep it someplace that's out of the banking system where you can still get to it easily. So, having gold and silver out of the system is very important, and having some cash set on the side so that you can operate. I mean, if these people that are having their accounts frozen up in Canada, how do they defend themselves and go and try and get their accounts back if they don't have cash? They have to hire a public defender. They can't make their house payments. They can't make their car payments. This could put them in a very, very bad position. It's interesting when you read what a self-custody wallet is. And these people up in Canada that are trying to seize assets and stuff, they're trying to send messages to all of these crypto wallet providers to turn over the assets or freeze the assets and they're sending back messages saying, I'm sorry, we're just a software provider. We don't have access to or any knowledge of any of the assets of our customers. Because a crypto wallet that is a self-custody wallet is the same thing as having a safe at home with cash in it, and only you know the combination. Nobody else has access to it, and the bank can't freeze it. Yeah, politicians will always use any excuse to say it's his fault. It's not my fault. They will never point the finger at themselves for causing things like inflation or something to go into a bubble that then bursts, causing high unemployment. And it is usually, this, according to the Department of Homeland Security, makes me a terrorist. It is usually the politician's fault. It's doing whatever they have to do to buy your vote, get elected, and then be able to tell you how to run your life. President Biden acknowledges U.S. gas prices may keep rising due to his sanctions. Defending freedom will have costs for us as well, and here at home. We need to be honest about that. So that's a quote from Biden, that there's going to be a cost for this. And then I was reading an article, and this is another article that I guess makes me a terrorist, because it was posted on Russia Today, but it was also posted on Ron Paul's Institute for Peace and Prosperity, which was a special project of the Foundation for Rational Economic and Education, a nonprofit established by Ron Paul in 1976, the bicentennial of the Declaration of Independence. And the title is "Why War May Be the Only Solution Americans Can Bring to This Conflict." And this was written by a guy named Scott Ritter, former U.S. Marine Corps intelligence officer, author of Scorpion King, America's Suicidal Embrace of Nuclear Weapons from FDR to Trump, and inspector implementing the INF Treaty, which was the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. The intermediate range missiles that they introduced, these shorter range missiles, not ICBMs, they destabilized things a lot. And so back during the Reagan administration, they signed this treaty, and he was implementing the observations. So he was boots on the ground in Russia, inspecting places. He also served in General Schwarzkopf's staff during the first Gulf War, and from 1991 to 1998 served as chief weapons inspector for the UN in Iraq. And so this guy has some serious credibility. He wrote this article, and one of the things in the article that it says is, unfortunately, the average American, lacking both the intellectual training and the critical resource of time — none of us have the time to pay attention to everything — is ill-equipped to participate in such an exercise. Instead, they have subordinated this task to a category of public servant known as the Russian expert. The thing about experts is that while their advice may be prescient, it is still held hostage by politicians who answer to a domestic constituency which is often unmoved by fact-based analysis. The American people are being poorly served by this new class of Russian experts to whom they have relegated all intellectual examination of current Russian affairs. And so, it's interesting when you try to look at both sides of the story. Basically, none of this would be happening if there weren't leaders, people in positions of power, all jockeying for position. That's what causes this. It isn't the individual. I mean, the individuals in the Ukraine, if you start studying this, it's a very, very convoluted topic. And the country itself is made up of many different languages. A lot of them speak Russian. A lot of them, part of it was Russia. It has been, it's sort of a cobbled together thing where there is basically, there's areas there where they want to secede from the rest of the Ukraine. If they were all left to their own choices, this would be peacefully resolved. There are just so many possibilities here, and none of us get to see what's going on behind the curtain.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information, and it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.